Hi, Greg. How are you?
Hey, Bill, I'm good. How are you?
All right.
I'm dark. Okay, there we go.
Okay. Nice to see you.
How you doing? Nice to meet you virtually.
Nice to meet you virtually too. Deb should be on in a few minutes, and God only knows who else will be on. We've done
Huh?
our publicized,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
the meeting is being recorded or will be recorded, and so
Gotcha.
comes Deb, and I know there are some people. There's a group called New Jersey Together, which has an education team, which is very much focused on the schools. There's a city council meeting tonight, and I know I think some of those people from Jersey City Together are planning to be at the council meeting, but I'm trying to get them to pursue environmental justice as one of their priorities, and the way of doing that, given their limited resources, would be by partnering with Sustainable JC
Got
and
it.
the Journal Square Community Association Green Committee. Um, but
That's awesome.
here's Deb. Hi,
Hey,
Deb.
Deb.
Hey there, good evening.
Good evening.
How are you?
I'm good. The weather's been beautiful. It's like 2 to 3 weeks a year you get this beautiful weather. I enjoy it while I can.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Before it gets
Right.
too hot or too cold.
yeah. Where are
Yeah.
you, Greg?
I'm actually in Mercer County, Hamilton, Princeton area, Trenton, Princeton, right there. So yeah, it's where I'm from, and I'm all over the state of New Jersey, so it just happened to work out that way.
Yeah. Okay.
So are you at home in the moment, Greg? Are you in your office?
I'm in my home. I have my home office.
Okay, great. And Bill, you're no
I'm
longer in Jersey City. So Bill has abandoned us. He
well.
has,
I got married last year,
Oh, congratulations.
and when my wife and I first got reconnected a few years ago, because we first met in 1971, one of the
Okay.
first things I said was, "I'm never leaving Jersey City," and one of the first things she said was,
I'll never.
I have no interest in ever getting married again." And
So
so
you
we
compromised, right? You
exactly,
compromised.
exactly.
You moved out.
That's what we did. Yeah.
Where'd
yeah.
you
I'm
go,
very
Bill?
involved still with the Journal Square Community Association, Jersey City Together, my church, and something else. But
Yeah, so Bill is one of the pillars of Jersey City, Greg. He's someone I'd admired from afar. He was running these Green Committee meetings for a year and a half that I was attending, and they were really well done. And people were poking at SJC to uh, reconstitute our monthly meetings. So I'd asked Bill, hey, do you want to partner and just co-host, some of these good conversations every month, right? People are meeting out, they don't need yet another meeting. So it's been my pleasure to work with Bill, and we're trying to grow the audience for this. I think it's important for, maybe some of the liaisons from other community organizations, and certainly these, these meetings are open to everyone. So individuals could learn an awful lot. I had shared with you who we had hosted over the last year. So,
Yeah.
right. So some of the current topics, invitation to officials to come share their perspectives with us, that kind of thing. Before we get started here, that Dan presented in June,
Yep.
right? So Schneider as the ESCO for the city of Jersey City, and I'll repeat this to folks. We'll give people 5 minutes to sort of get online here. But, this is really, it's just interesting. I've had 3 conversations this week about what the school district is doing.
Mhm.
So it's something important. I was actually on a call today with Rutgers Health Institutes, and they are really interested to understand potentially what's going on with indoor air quality with the school district these days, which you can certainly speak to tonight. If I could poke at you to mention that.
Mhm.
You're doing an energy efficiency retrofit that includes HVAC, right?
Correct.
All right. So folks are going to want to know about that.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. And I think too, once I know we talked about it last week, is maybe if I come back like February, March timeframe when I can show some like before and after pictures, give a little more update on where like the savings is at and stuff like that. I think it'll be tangible, and I think it'll be, especially for those that maybe have worked with the schools or have children in the schools. Why did my kid's classroom get brighter overnight, or how did that impact us, or and then they'll be aware of the educational programs we'll be engaging the students in the coming months. So
That's fantastic.
yeah.
So I know I mentioned Jersey City Together before, and I know that they have an initiative to try to make the churches more energy efficient.
Okay.
And and part of their mission is to help find jobs for poor people in Jersey City. So
Yeah,
one of our
connect.
questions that we can discuss later is employment opportunities for Jersey City residents, including former offenders, if you employ any of them, because that's something that's a prime interest for Jersey City Together, helping ex-offenders find jobs.
Understood. No, yeah, I would. I'm absolutely happy to have that conversation.
And these could be very well-paying jobs too, that would enable them to support a family.
Exactly.
so it would be good, Greg, to mention, how, your parent group, has its hands on workforce
Lifestyle
training, the workforce training thing, and see where, some of that could be circled back to. I had mentioned all this to the city of Jersey City, and they're looking forward to more conversation with people who can partner with them on workforce training. They have several grants out to do that. We just got word that at the end of last week, and I can't post about it yet, Bill, but the city of Jersey City received a USDA urban forestry grant for $2 million.
Oh,
Yeah, some of which is allocated to green MLK, and the other, there are several line items in that, but another good portion of that funding will go to train up junior foresters for the forestry division,
yeah, great.
right? So they have their eye on the ball around workforce training too. So that's the good news.
When did they get this grant? Just very recently?
Yeah, I heard about it on Thursday late afternoon, and they're scripting a press release about it. So they asked us to hold back, but I just had to let it slip here for a little bit. I think it's just a fabulous thing.
Yeah.
So, it bodes very well. It's an opportunity to create some momentum in a very underserved environmental justice business district in terms of where this corridor on Martin Luther King Boulevard is, Greg. It's called the Jackson Hill Main Street Business District.
Okay.
It's the largest business district in Jersey City and the most under-resourced. So I don't know, it feels like we're maybe cracking some things open here, including what you're doing for the school district. So why don't are you comfortable just to kick this off, Bill? You want to start
Yeah,
at this
sure.
point?
Okay, so I want to welcome everyone. Of course, it's just 5 of us, but Nathan Jones, we had a conversation a week or 2 ago with Boris Franklin and Kara. I don't know you, but welcome. And
Thank you.
a special welcome and thanks to Greg Burns, our guest speaker. Greg is a consultant with, I forget the name of your company, even though it was in all the announcements I put out.
So DCO Energy,
right,
which
okay.
is the energy service company for the school district.
And
He's their business development guy.
right, and DCO received a contract that the whole project is valued at $122 million for various energy savings at the public schools in Jersey City, 44 buildings, I believe, and it will include environmental education, if I recall correctly. And for Nathan and Kara, this is just one in a series of monthly meetings that we have, a joint venture between Sustainable JC and which is led by Deb Italiano, and the Journal Square Community Association Green Committee, which I chair. And welcome to Gladys Williams. So we took a hiatus in July and August. Back in June, our guest speaker was Dan. What was his
Dan
name?
Riggle.
Yeah, and he's
Out
with
of Schneider Electric.
Right, which is the consulting, which is working with the city on a similar initiative for city-owned buildings. And actually, the school district project is a much bigger one. So with that, I think I'll turn it over to Greg and just go ahead, and we'll, you can share the screen and talk for however long you want, hopefully no more than half an hour or so, and then we'll have Q&A. We should finish roughly around 8 o'clock, and if we go a little longer, so be it.
I guess I'll have to cut my 3-hour presentation short. No, good evening, everybody. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you all. It's a privilege to be here and working with the school district in the city of Jersey City. But yeah, so I'm Greg Burns, Business Development Manager for DCO Energy. We are an energy services company here in the state of New Jersey, helping the Jersey City Board of Education with their ESIP program, Energy Savings Improvement Program. And this initiative will essentially fund capital improvements through energy savings. So what I have for you is everybody can see my screen, correct?
Yes.
So just on the agenda for this evening, I will talk about,
And Greg, what I'm going to do, it's really my pleasure to have you here tonight, because this is the biggest thing since sliced bread in the state of New Jersey, certainly for Jersey City. But I may stop you at different points and suggest that you explain. So when you say funding this capital improvements project through energy savings, it's really the cost savings,
correct,
right, associated with saving energy.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a very important
clarification.
Yes. But I'll give a brief overview of what the ESIP program is, what the project looks like specific to the Jersey City Board of Ed, what's going to be installed as part of the project. And talking with Deb, I do have some greenhouse gas emission reductions and some CO2 emission reduction statistics that are pretty neat when you put them in perspective of those variables we'll provide. And then just a brief summary of what the project will entail. So I always like to start off with kind of how we got here and then what ESIP is. So there's 3 options school districts have for making capital improvements. 2 of the 3, which you can see, have an impact on the taxpayer. That's a bond referendum, pretty standard in school districts. They go out to vote for it, and whatever upgrades are included for X amount of dollars, that's how much the taxpayers are going to help the school district foot the bill for. A 5-year lease purchase agreement, again, is just paid out of like the school district's operating budget. And ESIP, the Energy Savings Improvement Program, is funded through energy savings, so it has no taxpayer impact. So not only is it providing sustainability to the school district and energy efficient improvements, but it's also not impacting the taxpayers, because it's funded by reallocating the utility budget line items from the school districts based on our savings projections. So again, just touching on what ESIP is, it's a budget neutral financing mechanism that does not require any out-of-pocket cost by the school district. It is overseen by the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities. So they approve the RFP before the district released the request for proposals or RFP that DCO was selected upon. And then they also approve what's called our energy savings plan. And that's the document that highlights the scope of work that we're implementing. And it will be on the school website. I believe it actually already may be on the school's website. It's a light read, about 400 or so pages. So might be something to read before bed.
Sure, I'll knock it off tonight after that.
So I just want to highlight a few project highlights. The first being, this is the largest ESIP project in the state of New Jersey history. The next closest was Newark, right around $95 million. As Bill mentioned, our project's right around $122 million worth of facility improvements for the school district. So a very substantial project that the school district's undertaking. So how we just wanted to highlight is, so a lot of the upgrades were highlighted in the district's long-range facility plan, as well as we walk the facilities, talk to the administration, talk to the staff in the building. So that's how we really identified key immediate needs. We will implement these energy conservation measures, ECMs, over the next 30 months, hopefully sooner. But again, a lot of improvements will be coming to the school district over the next two to 3 years. The district is also utilizing some of their ESSER funding. That's the funding from the federal government. The third round is where the district has provided funding from the American Rescue Plan Act. So we're using that to help with some indoor air quality initiatives that I'll touch on in a little bit. And then just so everyone's aware, DCO Energy is part of Jingoli, is our parent company. So we have a Jingoli DCO as a joint venture called Competitive Edge. So we have an educational component that's we're working out with the district. I actually met with the administration yesterday. We'll be sitting down with Dr. Fernandez and those involved in the curriculum and see how we can work on these programs with the school district.
Great. And how do you spell Jingoli?
Yeah, Jingoli.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So when we sat down with the district after we were selected as their energy services company, we just looked at what priorities were. We talked about, what was in the RFP when we walked the facilities, the investment grade audit, and I'll talk about the process on the next slide, but just what were their priorities. So one was definitely improving the learning environment for the students to help them improve upon their academic achievements. So right there, the lights are going to get more bright. They're going to be brighter in the classroom because they're going from 32-watt fluorescent bulbs to 10.5-watt LED bulbs. So it's going to be much brighter throughout all the schools, interior and exterior. There's other ways we were able to make the learning environment a little better. And that next way is improving indoor air quality. So I think everybody has probably heard indoor air quality over the past 3 years for a specific reason that I won't mention. But again, that was a goal that was set upon by the administration that they wanted to do, really focusing on how we can help them through this project improve student achievement. As part of this program, they did want to reduce energy consumption. They did have quite a hefty utility spend on an annual basis, and ESIP is a way, again, as I mentioned, to reallocate the funding to improve your facilities. Becoming more sustainable. I'll talk about the solar PPA that the district is engaging in and going to implement at 33 schools. And
what's the PPA?
Power purchase agreement.
Okay.
Could you explain what that is
Sure.
when you get to it, but really consider that probably everybody on the call, and because we're recording this and we're going to distribute the recording, most people don't know what that is. Or some of the terms you may be using.
Sure thing, absolutely. And then again, the educational component, we always, in our philosophy, is we always try to improve upon a community in which we work. So regardless of the community it is, we always want to make an impact in that community to ensure we're engaging the community, making sure they're happy, and if there's any way we can help the students learn about the project. It's pretty neat experience. I've done it at Patterson Public Schools. Previously, a few years ago, ran an educational program there, and we've done it for a few other districts throughout the state. But again, it's a pretty neat initiative that I really enjoy as part of this business and this project specifically. So how do we get to where we are today? So seems like a pretty quick process here when you look at this arrow with the steps. So the district had to undertake a local government energy audit, which is, for the size of Jersey City, is a pretty hefty lift. They had to provide 14 months of utility bills, let the firm that's hired by the state conduct a free energy audit, kind of setting the baseline for this ESIP project, giving a brief overview of each facility in the project. So that needs to be completed before the district went out for the request for proposals for the energy services company, or ESCO, which is where DCO was selected. Then we conducted our investment grade audit. So it took about 4 to 5 months to complete our investment grade audit of 44 buildings. We evaluated over $160 million worth of energy conservation measures to implement for the district. And then at the end, we completed the energy savings plan, which is based on the scope of work we reviewed with the administration, and in that they selected. Now we're at the point where we are financing it through green energy bonds. So again, that's funded. So the green bonds is a pretty cool topic. So it's really focused around green energy efficient initiatives. So the green bonds are really only for green improvements, which we were able to get these bonds to qualify for with the financial advisor. We're also
who issued the bonds? Was it the school district or?
Correct. Yeah, they're refunding bonds. Correct. They did. The school district did issue the bonds. They actually got back their credit rating. They had no credit rating previously, and 2 weeks ago, or maybe it was last week, we found out they had a AA minus credit rating. So it was a very good sign for them, and they were very pleased with the results.
So in this process, Bill, everybody else on the call, the city of Jersey City, who had no credit rating, no credential, if you will, came out of this with not only, a banner project, the largest in the state, but is funding it with very innovative financing. And it is kind of at the heart of the movement out there to green cities and school districts, at a scale, because these are guaranteed performance contracts with a high degree of credibility. And we're able to come out of just that bond offering with a credit rating, which they didn't even have, which is amazing.
Which ratings agency gave it that rating?
Believe Standard & Poor, S&P.
Okay.
Fabulous.
Okay.
And then also the fun part is where everybody enjoys is the implementation. So the implementation stage, we're closing on financing the first week of October. And I would say by early November, there will be lights and other improvements being installed here at the schools of Jersey City. So that's the process the district went through. Again, just highlighting some of the key numbers and then I'll talk about the energy conservation measures. Really, I call it the meat and potatoes of the energy conservation measures. There's a plethora of them, but there's 6 that I really like to focus on as part of this project. But so the project came in, the interest rate, because of the good credit rating, was able to reduce the financed amount. So the total project size is a little over $120 million now, which is great because it's less in interest that the energy savings has to cover. The district also has a substantial amount of ESSER funding to improve the indoor air quality and HVAC improvements for the district. Over the time period of the project, they'll achieve over $66 million in energy savings over the 20-year term of the project. The total solar power purchase agreement savings over the 15-year PPA contract will be over $15.5 million. And the total rebates, so that's money that's allocated from the New Jersey Clean Energy Program. The Jersey City Board of Ed qualified for the large energy user program, and we're able to conservatively estimate $1.7 million worth of rebates, which is essentially free money from the state. And we actually are conservative on that estimate and fully anticipated to go up. So now $120 million, what is going to be happening in the school district for that type of funding? So the first and foremost, and what the goal, we again, as I mentioned, the priorities of where the school district started at. So we're going to have new HVAC in 8 schools, new HVAC equipment in 8 schools. That's going to extremely enhance the learning environment, because currently their only option for filtration is really opening a window. So it's going to substantially take some of the classrooms that have steam radiators and window units, and also other common areas in those schools, to get substantially improve the indoor air quality. And the benefit is the solution is adding air conditioning. So the unit will be heating and cooling. So again, very, very excited for the district, the students, and we're excited to implement this ECM for them.
And that's for the whole building, correct?
Correct, for eight of the schools, correct. And there was identified in the long range facilities plan audit completed by a different firm. The next is, and I'll talk about it here, Deb, is the solar power purchase agreement. So what does that mean? So what it means is 33, you can see at 33 schools, there's a 2.5 cent per kilowatt hour rate. So at 33 schools, the district is essentially what a power purchase agreement is the school district leases their roof space to a solar provider. And in return of that contract, they get a reduced electric rate. And we're able to capture those savings and help fund capital improvements throughout the district. So instead of the district paying about 13 cents a kilowatt hour to PSE&G, they were able to bid. We helped bid that on behalf of the district and work with them to select a provider, Solar Landscape. They're, again, a very, very credible firm that we've worked with numerous times. So we were excited to see that they put together a very strong bid for this project. And the district ended up moving forward with them. But about 50% of the electric consumption after the air condition is added is going to be at 2.6 cents per kilowatt hour. Again, they're typically paying on average about 13 cents a kilowatt hour throughout the district. So that savings in itself,
huge.
it's massive. Yes, this is
And will that be at all 33 of those schools?
correct.
And this is, this is an audience too, just to remind folks who've been with us for a while, and you too, Bill. Solar Landscape has presented on, this forum series before. They know Kevin, as SJC's community solar partner. So I couldn't be more excited to have them coming back and actually working with the school district on this. They're a phenomenal company.
Yeah.
Yes,
Very great.
agreed.
And why is it that 11 schools are not getting solar panels? Is it just the configuration of the?
So there's a multitude of factors. So first and foremost is there's a PSE&G sustainability map. So there's a map that tells them based on the grid of its current standing, if the upgrade, if solar can be put onto those buildings without any major facility improvements like transformers, so there's just kind of grid limitations essentially for PSE&G. The other is school districts can't be a net producer of electricity. So if they consume 500 kilowatt hours of electricity annually, they can't produce 700,000 kilowatt hours. So it actually would have hurt the rate. It would have increased the rate, even though there would have been more schools with it. So we worked with the district and putting a bid together that was going to be the most advantageous to get them the largest solar system and the best rate. So that's why those other schools are not included.
I never knew that. Just to pause for a moment, is it that that's a New Jersey law where school districts can't produce more than they consume?
It's I'm not 100% if it's only New Jersey, but I'm 100% that it is here in New Jersey. They cannot be a net producer. So that's it kind of, again, we could probably fit more solar. Some areas were limited by roof space because, again, these schools might be like 3-4 stories high, even though they're 200,000 square feet. But again, we could be limited by roof space. But yeah, they cannot produce more solar energy than they consume because the utility provider won't allow them to based on interconnection.
Right.
There's a penalty.
Hi, this is Jim and Nelson. If I could piggyback
Got
question, is that policy determined by the BPU? And to what extent do non-utilities have voice in reconsidering that kind of a policy?
It would be dictated, it would seem, by the BPU. And when you say non-utility players, Jim, who do you mean?
Groups like Sustainable Jersey City or Jersey City Together, NJ Together, or
We would have no say in that other than to advocate for the idea, because other states allow for production beyond your consumption, which is then shared back with either the community or the grid. But in the moment, that's the negotiation the utility companies here in New Jersey have with the BPU.
Yeah, and by the way, our speaker next month, and I'll go in, is Steve Barba from PSE&G, who will talk about their solar our renewable energy initiative. So Greg, you might want to rejoin it. It's next 4 weeks from today.
Yeah. But that was a good question, Jim. Yeah, it's just kind of a limitation of the state here.
Thank you. So I want to respect those limitations currently, but not to close the window as to what might be possible in the longer future.
Correct. Yeah, there's a few legislative updates. There's community solar, which I know Solar Landscape's big, so that really helps the public more so than maybe like one school. There's also something remote net metering, not to get too like into the weeds of it, but there's options that solar companies are really pushing to the BPU and to legislators here in the state of New Jersey. So I would expect to see some changes in the solar. I don't know if the overproducing consumption will be allowed, just because it could hurt the utility company's bottom line. I'm assuming. I would have to double check that.
Thank
Okay.
you.
But please continue, Greg.
Yep. And then so with that, the 33 schools that are going to have solar, there's 21 schools, all of which are going to get solar that are going to have upgraded roofs with 15-year warranties. Because the contract of the solar power purchase agreement will be 15 years, we want to make sure the school district have roof warranties to match the 15-year contract of the solar PPA, meaning we don't want them to have to take their panels off in year 7, pay for lost production, and fix the roof. These roofs will have a manufacturer warranty for 15 years. The other 12 schools not included, they're not included because the school district's already doing those roofs themselves, or they already have warranties to extend well past the 15-year period we need them to. So anywhere the 33 schools will have solar, there will be a roof with a 15-year warranty.
Great.
Jumping into the final 3 here of the energy efficiency improvements we're doing is there's 11 boiler replacements, 5 standard natural gas boiler replacements, and then there's going to be 6 fuel oil conversions. So there's still 6 boilers in the school district that use fuel oil as the main source of
Really?
Yeah. So after this
Wow.
project, there will be no more fuel oil used by the school district in Jersey City. So that was a big priority as well for the district. I think there's other options people have looked at, but the option the district selected is the most cost effective to get them in the right direction for the near future, for sure. So it's a very important project.
So when you say oil, that's as opposed to natural gas, or?
Correct. So we're going to convert the boilers. So there's natural gas probably in the schools and in the schools wherever where we need to get a line run by PSE&G. So we'll coordinate that. But there is fuel oil as the main source of heat for those boilers. So we're going to convert those to have natural gas instead. Right. And the district's substantial cost savings in terms of their fuel oil bill.
Fabulous. A lot cleaner.
Yes, absolutely is. The next is the LED lighting upgrades. This is I'd say the only ECM we always have to do. Lighting has the best annual energy savings. When you go from 32 watts to 10.5 watts, it's a significant improvement, not only in lighting levels, but just in reduction in energy usage. You're taking about a 2/3 reduction just by installing a new LED light. So this is going to be a huge energy saver. From when we install the first light bulb sometime in November, there will be a substantial reduction in kilowatt hours used by the district.
Which is a big cost savings. Could you just explain what the term ECM that you just used is?
Yeah, ECM, sorry, is an energy conservation measure. So all of these, everything we implement, we call it an ECM, an energy conservation measure. So yeah, exactly what you'd expect it to be. Anything that reduces the energy usage of that existing equipment.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem. And then the 10-year warranty of the lights. So the district won't have to buy a light bulb for 10 years because they have a 10-year manufacturer warranty. So again, substantial operational savings that you don't always we can't quantify to the full extent. So there should be excess savings here for the school district. But for them not to have to buy a new light bulb for 10 years is critical for their operation and sustainability moving forward. The sixth and final energy conservation measure is the energy management system. This is going to allow a unified front end system to control the boiler rooms and major equipment throughout the district. It'll also be tied into the 8 schools that have brand new HVAC equipment, but it's going to really bring the district into the 21st century. So if any of the facility staff is at home, they're not going to say, hey, PS 11, the boiler went down. They're going to get notified at 2 a.m., not when somebody shows up at 6 or 7 a.m. to turn on the boiler. So it's going to substantially help the operation of the facilities and really help the staff have a stronger control and understanding of what's happening throughout the facilities. It'll also allow them to control set points, do nighttime setbacks. So, if it's in the middle of the winter, you don't need the building to be heated at 78 degrees at 11 o'clock at night. We can set it back and plan to ramp up the heat at 5 a.m. in time for it to get heated up for the school day. So
Just
that's
to your point, Greg, is there going to be a sort of a across the board training up of
Yes.
school, facilities staff?
Yeah, that's part of our bid. There's a training component to it. So all of these new equipment, our operations team and will work closely with the operations team of the district, and all the manufacturers will come in and do specific training while we work with Henry, Ralph, Dr. Dennis, and the administration on getting their staff trained on this brand new equipment. So it's not like we install it and then we're like, all right, good luck, here you go, figure it out. We're making sure they're, this is a long-term partnership and commitment between Jersey City Board of Ed and ourselves. So yeah, we're going to make sure they're trained and everybody's up to par, and any new staff gets trained on the equipment.
Thank you.
Great.
So that's what I highlighted as part of the ECMs. The other, I found this in an article that was put out, and this was a comment by the business administrator of the district, Dr. Dennis. And I thought it was just a pretty cool quote to, talk about the solar. But again, we're here doing this project for the students, right? The most important part of the district has stressed this the whole time, to create a health and safety environment for their students and staff. So that's what we're proud of, and we're looking to, really hang our hat on as we implement this project.
You said that was Dr. Dennis who said this, but this is someone quoting.
Well, so that's his last name for Knoppel. That was from a news article I just copied and pasted.
Okay.
So Greg, can you comment on, you had mentioned that the upgrades to the HVAC system would be occurring in 8 schools, right? And here Dr. Dennis has gone out of his way suggesting that, part of this process would be to improve ventilation throughout the entire district. Mm-hmm. Could you square those two comments? He's talking about the entire district. You're talking about 8 schools.
Yeah, so the 8 schools were schools that currently have no ventilation. What we're doing throughout the district is we're doing retro commissioning, getting the univents to act appropriately. We're bringing everything, really back up the code, finding other ways to add, improve indoor air quality for the district. So we're going throughout each building and trying to identify the spaces that have the worst indoor air quality and find ways to improve them. So there's a few options, one being retro commissioning, one being obviously adding air conditioning and HVAC improvements, and others are planned to be addressed towards the back end with leftover funding. We talked about having, if there's contingency left over. So we're evaluating all options and trying to find a way to improve the indoor air quality throughout the district in as many classrooms as possible.
So could you define retro commissioning?
Yeah, so retro commissioning is a study done by a separate third-party engineering firm that we'll solicit quotes for, and they'll come in, they'll do a study of the district, look at how the equipment functions, look at other things, provide a report, and then they'll also recommend upgrades, and then we'll look to implement those specific upgrades that'll have not only energy savings tied to it, but ventilation improvements as well.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And that happens out of the gate? That kicks off with the project, the retro commissioning?
So it depends. So it's typically anything we're not touching, right? Like those 8 schools that are getting brand new HVAC equipment, they won't be part of it. It's really the schools that have the univents that they were just too costly and not enough energy savings to fit into the project.
Can you tell us which 8 schools are getting the new HVAC equipment?
I would have to double check. I apologize. I don't have the list in front of me. I can double check and get that out to you.
Yeah, if you could send that to us.
So that would be, for example, Greg, that would be part of the announcement on the school district's website that would point out which schools are being addressed for what.
So yeah, if you can hold that, I actually have the website I'm going to use as my last slide, and I'll show you, and we can go back to that if that's okay.
Yeah,
Sure.
That's great.
And who will be responsible for determining the contractors and distributing the budget, so to speak?
Yeah, so we have to follow 18A public bid law that the school district has to follow. We act as the general contractor, so the only contract the school district has is with us. So we have to the district hired an engineering firm called CHA. We're working with them. They're going to design these energy conservation measures, and then we're going to put them on the street out to public bid.
Okay.
So it's based on public bid and the New Jersey public bid laws that we are required to follow.
Okay.
Good question, Gladys. Thank you.
Good to see you, Gladys.
No, well, thank you.
Hey.
Good question. And then they just here's statistics about, so these numbers are based on once everything is installed and operational. You can see this. So this project is equivalent to taking almost 2,000 gasoline powered vehicles driven off the road for 1 year. You can see just other statistics that I think are pretty impressive. Even when I read through it, I was like, wow, that's a pretty substantial reduction in terms of how much of an impact this project will not only have on the students in their learning environment, but just on the community of Jersey City in general.
Yeah, these are really fun statistics. We're going to post them. We
Okay.
already started, in fact.
Yeah. I think it's always, and I always relate it to, cars and oil and for me, like trees hits home. You can see 145,000 tree seedlings grown for 10 years is the same amount of carbon sequestered. So again, it's just, if you go through some of these things, it's pretty impressive to see the results that this will have, again, not only on the learning environment for the students, but on the city of Jersey City in general.
All right, Greg, at the end of this project, how many schools in Jersey City will have air conditioning throughout the building? Just those 8 or?
Just those 8. Most of them already have mechanically cooled spaces. We are, again, just trying not to get into the weeds. So we're going to go out to public bid to the point of Gladys before. And if the bids come in under budget, we would look to add in more scope. So again, it's once we get the final numbers on the public bid from the contractors, that's where we'll be able to determine how much more we can add. But the preliminary plan is at least those 8 schools.
Excellent.
And you're saying that there is mechanical cooling occurring, which is another way of not saying air conditioning, throughout the school district at most schools. I was actually unaware of that too. I thought it was still quite the issue. Jim, you would know better, to get a cooler environment in some of these schools, which was described to me as a bunch of heat boxes.
Right, true. To distinguish between air conditioning versus ventilation, and nearly half of the schools do have, as our guests have said, have some version of cooling, and those are the schools where the Summer Sparks program are held. But when we have the heat wave, like we had the first couple of days of the school year, all schools needed to do early dismissal because they could not shut down some schools and not others. So it does matter that we are addressing the benefits for all students at all schools, and yet we needed to have some kind of consecutive year plan of action, and appreciate so much how the ESIP will enable that.
Great.
Thank
Greg,
you.
As you certainly know, so many of the school buildings here in Jersey City are quite old. So I presume, like probably all schools in the offices where people work year round, they have probably room air conditioners and
there's a lot of window units. Like in the 8 schools we're doing, a majority, if not all, the classrooms are radiator heatings as the heating, and then window units as the air conditioning. So to Jim's point, some of those are, there's some that have mechanically cooled, but not all of them. When it gets really hot, it is tough. And the goal of the district is to cool as many of the classrooms and areas as possible. They're just doing what they're given. And to the point of the buildings being old, it's pretty cool to walk into a 100-year-old school. It's pretty, you don't get to do that every day.
Yeah. Will you be using fuel pumps in some or many of the schools?
So right now the plan is to use self-contained heating and air conditioning units. So everything would be in really one box, and it'll sit in each classroom. So it would be temperature controlled to each room.
And why that as opposed to fuel pumps? And I'm no expert on any of
Yeah,
this. but,
it just, it was so when we went through all probably 5 or 6 options, this was the most cost effective and efficient solution that would give the district the biggest, it would allow them to address the most students and improve the most classrooms in the most cost effective way.
Okay, thank you.
And with each initiative, obviously, what is your proposed time frame? Obviously, it'll be faster to change light bulbs as opposed to installing solar panels.
Exactly right. So it's a 30-month construction period. So exactly that, Gladys. Lights will be installed starting November as soon as possible, as soon as the bids are awarded. And then air conditioning will be based on lead time. We're going to have to do some electrical upgrades. Electrical equipment has very long lead times right now. So it's just going to be a lot. Some of it's going to be based on the availability of equipment, but actually will be put onto our project website that I'll share with you in a couple slides. That'll have like a schedule, an upgrades at each school, and before and after pictures as we get going. But it's going to be staggered throughout the next 30 months.
And most of the equipment that you're going to be installing, is it American made, or because I'm thinking of like the early stage of the pandemic, especially there were so many supply chain disruptions.
Right.
Yeah, so New Jersey requires a Buy American clause, so that's in all of our bids and all it was required by all of our subs.
Okay, good.
So, and I appreciate the interaction. It's really, really great. So just to highlight some of the key plan results we get as we go through this, it may increase, things may change, but these are the 5, as I was thinking through this presentation, what are 5 really important things we wanted to just kind of summarize this project with. And the first is that it's going to significantly reduce the energy and operational costs for the district. Just on utility spend alone, our baseline is $7.4 million of electric, natural gas, water, sewer, and fuel oil costs the district has to spend annually based on their current consumption. This should reduce that between 3 to 4 million, and then as well as some operational cost savings. So those energy and operational costs should go down substantially. Obviously the improving of the indoor air quality, and that's going to be as many schools as we can possibly help improve as directed by the district. Talked about the solar, upgrade the boilers that use fuel oil to no longer be fuel oil. So that's going to be help not only the community, but really help the environment as well. And then the facility improvements will begin here late in 2023. So if you have any family, kids in the district, as they see lights, hey, my classroom's brighter or anything, it'll be, part of our project. So we're very, very excited to get to that point. And then the final slide I have is the school. So this is our website that it's not done yet. Now that we're going to close on financing, we did talk to the district yesterday. This is going to be somehow maybe put on the school website. If not, it'll be made available probably somewhere for everybody to see. And then if I should be able to click on it if you give me a moment. Can everybody see the website now?
Yeah.
Yes.
So this is the school website. We have to update it, still based on the RFP. Here it'll talk about DCO. It'll talk about the project development team. There'll be a business case analysis, and then schools. So every school that we touch is going to have its own project website. So for example, Dickinson High School, and then this was based on our RFP. It'll describe all the energy conservation measures that we implement as part of the project. Then we'll also highlight here in energy education, what programs we're implementing. And again, these were just part of our proposal. We're sitting down over the next 6 to 8 weeks with the administration of the district to start outlining and getting these programs out to the students. But
so the timeline as you bring each school up to a certain level, is that in the schools page? So you could look and see when a school is being upgraded.
Yeah, so yep, exactly right. So you'll see, and again, we're going to work with the district to see what type of the details they want included in this. But this was our initial plan. Again, these are all kind of standard, just generic from the RFP. But now that we have facts and data and what the district wants to implement, and we can put numbers and facts behind that, we're going to update it for each school's website.
Yeah,
So,
and the community is interested to see timeline, so
Yeah.
you can bring that back home when you're talking to the school district, right?
Absolutely. So yeah, there's community outreach. You can see here's our Jingoli competitive edge logo and just what it's all about. But again, this is still in the works. It's going to be finalized in the coming weeks, but I would plan to share this once it gets finalized and goes like officially live with updated real project information. I'd obviously would keep you in the loop, Deb, and let you know so you could share it out.
Yeah,
Very great. Thank you.
as soon as that website becomes live, if you could send it to both of us and we'll pass it on.
Absolutely.
Well,
So
this-
that really concludes my presentation. I wanted to end on that because I think it'll be cool to keep the community up to date if I can't always attend, or hey, Greg presented once in September, once again in March. It's now June of 2024. What's going on? So you can have a dedicate. Our point of this was transparency and communication. We want everybody to be aware of what's going on, and the district supported us in that initiative.
Yeah, well, I think I'll have to confer with Deb, but I'm sure we'd like to have you back sometime in March or sometime during the spring.
Definitely. Yeah. So that would be, really appropriate in the same way that we'd like to invite Dan Riggle back so that
Right.
Schneider can update the community. I think that project is pretty far along. I'm not sure if it's winding down yet. Do you keep in touch with Dan Riggle, Greg?
I see him once in a while. I mean, we're friendly competitors. I like Dan. He's a good guy. So, but yeah, I see him every now and again, and we say hello. We talk. He's a good guy.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, and maybe the next time we'll invite Dr. Fernandez and the school business administrator and make it a more broad-based presentation, get their perspective as well as yours. But I'm very encouraged by this. But now I want to, we've had questions already from Jim and Gladys. But if you guys have more questions, or Kara or Nathan,
I'll just commend the thank you, Greg, for the presentation. And it also dovetails the district's initiative with Sustainable Jersey City's support for New Jersey's sustainable schools. And the schools have been certified at the bronze level. And the education component of this is so important to really engage the participation of the school families and their neighborhoods to support this and learn from it. And so I truly appreciate the education component of that, and that each school should be forming a green team that will help to monitor and
Absolutely.
amplify this.
yeah, that's a good idea. And Jim,
It's actually a requirement, Bill, by the program. Sustainable Jersey for Schools actually requires that. So that's happening.
yeah, and Jim, you're on the education team with Jersey City Together, and so what if you could bring the message back to the other members of the team about this program, and it's something they should.
Thank you. Nathan on this call is also part of the team, and yes, we will share these notes.
Yeah, and so two things. And before I forget, Greg, I'm not sure if you have to go, but I just sent you an email to just, make a small change to your presentation. And once you make that change, I'll take the presentation and the recording link and post it. You'll I think what you should reference on that last slide is that it's pending, right? Or that it's under development, however you want to frame that, because once we post this presentation, people might go to that.
Okay.
So you maybe want to note about that. But I just want to say one more thing. The school district is nested in the municipality, right? So this project not only elevates the school district and is transformational, for the school district, but it's also transformational for the city of Jersey City, right? Those assets, right? The footprint of those assets and what is being, sort of managed here to lower emissions and, take advantage of all of these sustainability measures benefits the city of Jersey City in a way that it could not do for itself. Right? So this is a huge, huge opportunity for the city of Jersey City to advance, in its own, if you want to just refer to it that way, on its own scorecard.
Yeah.
it couldn't possibly have accomplished what this project is accomplishing. So that's really great.
Yeah, and Greg, could I ask, what's your impression? You know, and maybe you have to be so diplomatic, but you know, the people in the school district, the staff, and as well as the board members, you know, because these are very complex subjects. You know, what's your impression of how they've you know, their grasp of the complexities of the issue?
Yeah, so I mean, I know Dr. Dr. Fernafel for quite a while now. He's very supportive of myself, and I had past experience. But the whole administration from day one has been very supportive of us. And I've honestly, I said it, and we talked about it internally. They've actually, in terms of it was the most schools we've ever done in an investment grade audit. 44 is like the next closest would be Newark. But it was the easiest in terms of getting through the schools, just with the administration, the staff. They really were engaged the entire time. We had the commitment from day one. So dealing with, again, I primarily dealt with the administration and presented to the board occasionally, but they grasped it pretty well. I think, you know, Dr. Dennis and Dr. Luce and Dr. Fernandez did a great job prepping them. But again, the administration and working with them over the 6 months of the development of the project, getting to this has been extraordinary feat, and it could not have been done as quickly as it was without their full support from all the staff and administration. It would have just been impossible for that many schools and that many square footage, so that many square feet. So it was fantastic. And
you know, you're the business development guy for DCO. So are you also an environmental scientist, or
No.
what's your background?
No, I'm actually background in a public finance. I've always had a thing for finding a way to leave an impact for students and children. And I'm somebody that I never had an opportunity to learn about engineering, architecture, STEM or STEAM growing up. So you know, we also are doing a program we're going to look to implement called Women in Engineering. I have 2 little girls. So for me to make sure that students that may not have had the opportunity to learn about being an engineer or construction or certain career paths, not that they're going to take it, but just to make sure everybody gets an opportunity to explore those options, and helping students is very important to me. Because I never had, I couldn't have told you what an engineer was when I was in high school, or an architect. I would have said that's way above my pay grade. So for me to be able to help a student learn about that in 4th or 5th grade it means it's personal to me, because I want to make sure I can give somebody the opportunity I didn't have.
And Nathan, I think you had your hand raised before. Do you have a question?
Oh, no, it was the applause reaction.
Oh, okay.
Because I went into engineering contracting, and yeah, all for all the STEM things and all the sustainability things.
So how long?
This is Jim Nelson again, just to underscore that Greg's background in public finance is also very key, because
Yes,
school districts of the Jersey City type school district is not allowed to bond. The exception by law is for the ESIP. And so Greg's familiarity with all those public finance laws was critical to help navigate the district to this point.
So Jim, were you following this whole process during the contract process? Were you going to Board of Ed meetings and keeping up with this, or?
I had the pleasure of meeting Greg last Thursday, but I saw him on a few Zoom calls. Yes.
Great. Okay, good.
And part of this, and thanks to Dr. Dennis on this too, I'm going to suggest that you've been down this road before, Greg, DCO, but you know, to have Dr. Dennis's prowess to move in the direction, and you had some advisory on this, but to have the advantage, because it is advantageous, instead of any old bond issue, to go out with a green bond issue was really terrific. I mean, it advantages the school district. It's less expensive. It just, you know, it has a higher credibility ranking. So it was really terrific. So you had a good partner in crime in Dr. Dennis over there.
Yeah, I don't know him, but
It was a great team.
it's encouraging to hear all of you speak so highly of him. Is he relatively new as the business administrator?
I think he's a little over a year now, maybe, if that.
Yeah, he was
This
brought,
is
he was brought in as interim and then he just took it up.
So
So year 2 as acting business administrator, yes.
so he came in from the outside. Okay.
He started as a custodian at PS8 back in the mid 90s. And but in this kind of capacity, he's serving very well.
Great. Okay. Glad to hear that. So, and you know, it's just about 8 o'clock now. Of course, we can keep going a little longer if Greg has time, but if not, I just want to mention that our speaker next month will be Steve Barba of PSENG, who will discuss its green energy initiatives. His title is Associate Program Support Manager, and for energy efficiency programs, and he's involved in promoting awareness across the state in PSENG territory. And I think that probably Rich Dwyer, whom Deb and I certainly know, maybe some of the rest of you know as well. He's the long-term community relations guy for PSENG in Hudson County, and a friend to many of us. And I think he's retiring pretty soon, but hopefully Rich will be joining in as well. And, you know, we welcome suggestions for future speakers. We know that one of them will be Greg, and coming back in the spring for an
Looking forward
update.
to it.
And hopefully Dr. Dennis and maybe Dr. Hernandez as well for that session. So, but if any of you on this call now have suggestions for other people, other speakers, you know, and we do these meetings on Zoom, it's frankly, I find it easier, and you know, we can record the meetings. We don't have the personal interaction, but I think it makes it easier for us. So I think we'll just continue doing these meetings on Zoom. And
I agree. That's my preference as well.
so anything else, Deb, or do you have anything?
Yeah, just any other questions before we close out? This has been, you know, a pleasure. Thank you again, Greg.
Absolutely. Thank you
Yeah.
for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would say this has been one of our best meetings so far. And I, you know, we've been doing these for about 3 years now.
Every meeting is our best meeting.
Right, right,
It keeps showing up that way.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
All
Okay.
right, so catch up with you all. Thank you so much. Greg, I just, you know, as I mentioned, I sent you an email, but walkie-talkie soon.
Sounds
Yeah,
good.
and you'll send us the your slide presentation. And
Yep, I gotta do a few updates, and I'll get it out to Deb first thing tomorrow.
okay, and then
Very
Deb,
good.
you'll send it to me, and I can send it to everyone on the, you know, from this call, and
Absolutely.
everyone else on our email list. Okay, well,
Correct. Very
Thank you,
good.
everybody.
thank you
I
so much.
appreciate it.
Good night,
Have a good
everyone.
night.
Thanks everyone.
Thank you
Good
very
evening
much.
to you.
Hi,
Bye-
thank you.
Bye for now.